Hello everybody, I hope you're all having a fantastic weekend and thank you very much for tuning in. What you got to say, Layla?
It's been 1:00.
My beautiful daughter Layla. She likes to get involved every now and again. Then the old beer monster o'clock for me. Yeah, we've got a bit of a beer battle again. I've been to Aldi's to pick these up. They're both German lagers, sort of Aldi own brand lagers. And they're both brewed by the German purity law, which means they're not allowed to have any crap put in them. They have to have a certain standard, so they should both be at least half decent. And what I like about both of these, they're both very cheap. I think the Rheinbacher was £1.19 for a 500ml bottle, and this Steinhäuser, as I like to call it, was I had to buy a 6-pack of these, and I think they were like £4.39. They are a 6-pack of 330ml bottles. I don't know what one works out cheaper, but I've got to put them together and try and find the ultimate Aldi budget beer. Because let's face it, a lot of us are struggling for pennies in a minute. Some of us can't afford to drink necessarily what we want to drink, but we want something that's cheap and acceptable. And just judging by sort of word of mouth and stuff like that, a lot of people say that these are pretty good for the money. So I want to find out what one's best. I'm not, I don't know what one works out cheaper, but they're both cheap at the end of the day. But what one's better? That's what we're here to find out, at least what my opinion is anyway. And just to see the differences. Got Steinhäuser there, just says German lager. Or we've got Rheinbacher, which is a pilsner, just says German pilsner. 4.5% the Rheinbacher, 4.7% the Steinhäuser. God, you've got to love the names of the German beers, ain't you? Proper strong names, isn't they? Oh, where's the bottle opener? Oh, let's get on the desk. Let's crack them open and get on with it. Shall we? We'll be using matching Foster's glasses because that's the only 2 lager glasses that I've got that are identical. Even though it's a rubbish beer, I staggered home with them one day at the pub, and you know, they're handy. At least they're identical, so that's fair. I've got 2 bottles of the Steinhäuser, so I can do a pint. Let's get them open first. Right, we'll start with a Steinhäuser. Green bottle, and I could smell a little tiny bit of skunkiness, which I'm quite surprised at because they're actually wrapped up in cardboard. So I don't know how that's happened because that normally protects it from the sunlight. It wasn't nothing major, so hopefully it hasn't gone through to the taste, and it did clear very quickly. It was just a little bit of skunkiness on the opening. Right, let's get them in there, shall we? Take a look at them and see whether they're the same colour first of all, and see what sort of head they produce. If you've tried both of these beers, what one do you prefer, guys? You know, are they both good, or do you drink them regularly? Be interested to know. Do you think they're worth the money? Right, the Steinhäuser is in. Let's get on the Rheinbacher. Right, surprised I ain't got mixed up between the 2 of them yet. Right, I believe the Rheinbacher did used to be 4.9% and it got reduced. Could that play a part in this competition or battle of the beers, the cheap Aldi beers? There are cheaper beers in Aldi though. These are like what I would say where they probably get respectable, you know. There's like a Foster's copycat. I mean, what's the point in that? Might review it one day later for a laugh. Right, beers in the glass, and I have to say, for cheap beers, I think they both look fantastic, don't you? Both got decent levels of carbonation. The, what was it? Steinhäuser has maybe slightly more. And bubble-wise, they're both roughly the same size. I'd say the Steinhäuser's slightly smaller. Steinhäuser's got a slightly bigger head. They're very, very similar looking in the glass though, I must say. Both quite foamy, piercingly white, beautiful German heads. And if this Steinhäuser's any good, I might have to stick the other 4 bottles in my Stein. Right, I'm going to start with the Steinhäuser. They're both sort of a clear golden colour, as you can see. Let's check out the aroma on this quickly. Grassy and bready for me. It doesn't smell horrible at all. It just smells like a fairly decent lager, I've got to say. Let's go on the Rheinbacher Pilsen. Grassy, A little bit less aroma on this one, a little bit of citrus in this one as well, and some spice. Oh yeah, anyway, let's go in with the Steinhäuser on the tasting first. Cheers everybody, let's hope they're half decent. Bosh. That's nice. That's a good beer. I mean, of course I've had better, but you're talking less than £1 a bottle. Way less as well. It's really crisp and it's really refreshing, and that's what you want from a lager. That's the main thing, you know. It does the basics well. It's not the most flavoursome lager in the world, but it's certainly nice and clean tasting, very crisp, very refreshing. Actually, this reminds me a bit of Beck's before they made it 4% ABV. I don't know whether this is like a Beck's knockoff. Perhaps it is. But it does remind me a little bit of Beck's, which wasn't bad before I absolutely butchered the arsehole out of it. It's got a nice dryness on the end. Sweet malts, not too sweet though. It's got a little peppery taste as well in the end. You know what? My only criticism really would be it does lack a little bit of flavour. But what it lacks in flavour, this Steinhäuser, for me, it makes up for in drinkability. It's extremely smashable, this one. It just glides straight down. Super good value for me. I'd say this is a perfect sort of barbecue beer. When, you know, you try and save a few pennies because you've got to buy a lot because you've got some guest rounds and that. This is going to be better than your, you know, your Fosters or your Carlins, the cheap sort of packs you normally buy. This tastes better. It's quite inoffensive in the sense that I don't think anyone will particularly dislike this. It's just, it is what it is. It's a cheap beer, but it's, for the money, very worth it, and, you know, good enough for the price that you pay. Anyway, let's give the Rheinbacher pilsner a try. Oh, again, it's nice. They're quite similar actually. They're both retaining their head. Super refreshing again. Crisp, refreshing, highly drinkable. Lemon zest in there for me. Some floral hops. A little bit more bitterness with this one. In a pilsner, I suppose. A bit of spice on the end with the dryness. This is really close. They're both good. Well, you know, they are both worth the money. Perhaps go for whatever one's cheaper based on their first sort of impressions. The bitterness on the Rheinbacher lingers a bit more. This one doesn't really linger. I'd say the Rheinbacher is got a bit more flavour, even though it's slightly weaker on the ABV. It's got a bit more flavour, it's got a bit more citrus, it's got higher bitterness, it's got a nice bitterness on it. But I'd say that the Steinhäuser has got higher drinkability, but perhaps a little bit less flavour. So, you know, they're both quite happy to drink either of them. Oh, I've got to pick a winner. There's really not a lot in this one. They're both just decent, cheap German lagers. So, yeah, give them both a try yourself and see what you like. As far as score-wise goes, these are neck and neck for me. They really are. I would say whatever one works out cheaper, look at the price tag, see what one works out cheaper per litre and pick that up. I think you can get the Rheinbacher in cans as well, whereas the Steinhäuser, you're only limited to these small little stumpy bottles. That could be a factor, I suppose. But if they work out cheaper, I'd probably go with this. But I mean, the Rheinbacher, you can get in big bottles, you can get it in big cans, you can get in a 4-pack of cans, or you can buy the single 500ml bottles, like I did. So, it's really difficult. One more go and I'm going to say what I think's better. So easy drinking, this one. You know what? I really can't decide. Like I said before, flavour, drinkability. What do you want? Perhaps if it's a really hot day and you just want something you can smash, but then if you want a bit more flavour, drink a bit slower. Right. I really don't want to sit on the fence, but I'm going to give them both an 8 out of 10. I think they're both fantastic value, and I think they're both really good for the money. Good German beers. I mean, they're so much cheaper than a lot of the more expensive ones. They're good enough. The same as the Aldi Weiss beer, or wheat beer, whatever you want to call it. If you, pardon me, if you like wheat beers, that's also fantastic for money. It's not quite as good as, you know, your Franziskaners and your Pauliners and stuff like that, but it's not far behind, and it's like half the price pretty much. And same with these, you know, perhaps they're not quite as good as some of your premium German lagers, but they're not far behind and they're half the price. So I think 8 out of 10. I think they're both cracking value for money. So if you're skint, you know, they're not the best in the world, but if you're skint and you're struggling, I think we've just found 2 really good bargain beers in Aldi. And Aldi's are really good for their lagers. And these 2 are certainly no exception for me. 8 out of 10. I really cannot decide. Otherwise I would. I don't want to sit on the fence, but I like them both equally. You know, there's slight differences, but the differences of the drinkability in this one is like a high of a factor of the increased flavour on this one. So I'd like literally, if I was I'd have another bottle of each in front of me, I wouldn't care what one I open next, because they're both equally good. I hope you've enjoyed this comparison. Sorry I've waffled on a little bit at the end there. And have a great weekend, guys, whatever you're drinking and that. Enjoy it, and consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. It would really be appreciated, and it really does help, and it makes me feel very special. And until next time, I'm going to say goodbye, lovely Layla.
Bye bye, darlings.